everyone, it's Jason back again with the TackleShare YouTube channel. Today we're going to be going over how to rig rubber worms wacky style for all your shallow fishing right along weeds, rocks, and the lakes. Alright, let's get into this. Alright, so here we got two lures that came in our featured bass box for this month. One is a watermelon seed lure and the other one is a salt and pepper white lure. I'm going to be covering two ways to hook these. First thing you're going to want to know is hook size. So this here is a circular hook you're going to want to use. Any hook can work just fine when fishing wacky. Don't let that turn you away from this way of rigging a worm, but circular is the most efficient and most preferred by most standards. So the first way, it's pretty simple. You're just going to want to find about the midpoint of your worm here. Once you have the midpoint, you're just going to take the hook and put it straight through the center till it comes out the middle. And there you have your first wacky rig. Like that. So the second way of hooking a wacky rig is with this little handy dandy tool called an O-ring. It also came out in the bass box with it. So I'm going to fit this onto the salt and pepper worm here. All you're going to do is find the tail of it, the tapered end. You know, the head has a more flat end to the top, whereas the tail is more tapered towards the bottom. It's also the side that doesn't have, most rubber worms will have a smooth portion. The tail is the furthest away from the smooth portion. So to put it on, we're just gonna roll this onto the tail and slide it up until we get to about the middle spot of the worm, which is directly underneath the smooth portion. Different brands of rubber worms can differ, so keep that in mind. Then we're just going to take our hook, and instead of putting it through the worm this time, we're going to slide it between the worm and the O-ring, so that the O-ring is actually what's helping make contact with the worm. That gives it a little bit of action here, as you can see. That's the kind of action that we want in the water. We'll cover that later. And it just gives the worm a little bit more of, it'll be less likely to break and rip. It'll also be less likely to fly off the hook later on. So now there's a lot of different colors to choose from when it comes to rubber worms and rubber bait. I'll put the scroll across here that I took from Canadian Tire, and as you can see, there are a lot. This is just an average Canadian Tire I took this from. So, as you can see here, I have a different selection. These top four here, these are from the Lucky Strike bass box that we covered in an earlier video. These ones down here are my personal collection, just from different assorted brands. When it comes to picking what color you want, you mainly got to think of what type of water you're fishing in. If you're fishing in darker, murkier water, you're going to want something bright, like the pink or salt and pepper, or this bright pink-orange one that I have here. When you're fishing in clear water, you can use darker colors like this green and black, blue and black, or this two-tone purple one here. Although, that's not to say it's the rule, that's to say it's the most efficient way of doing it. I've seen people that get one pack of worms for the entire season, and that's all they use to fish, and they catch plenty of fish that season. I had family friends that swore by bright pink in any water they fished in. I had another family friend that only used black and blue. It's your preference, really. When working this rig, it's important to remain patient and let it sink before pulling it back up, and let it sink again while reeling in the slack. The action from the tips of the worm is what we're trying to achieve when working the bait. The longer the worm, the more pronounced the action will be. Again, being patient and letting the worm sink before working it back up is key to the success of this rig. Come back next week when I go over how to rig these same worms using a weed-resistant Texas rig.